Hi guys, this is a video that shows how to use a spreadsheet to do calculations for you. It's a very efficient way of getting through a lot of calculations very quickly, which is what efficiency is, I suppose. And also, it's a very powerful tool that you may find yourself able to use with other applications. So what you see here is a collection of data from our recent calorimetry lab. And this is the data that was collected in the lab when we burned a snack, whether it was a cashew or a Cheeto or a honey roasted peanut. At the time that this video is being made, that those were the snacks that students did. So what you can see here is that this student had 5 trials, and what was recorded in the lab was the initial mass of the water that went into the calorimeter for each of the trials. Also the initial mass of the snack system in grams, the initial water and temperature and final water temperature in degrees Celsius, and then the final mass of the snack system. In calculations that involve calorimetry, the formula that gets used, and I'll just type it in right here. The formula that gets used is if you want to calculate the number of calories or the heat given off, is heat equals, in this case, since the heat from the burning snack was going to the water, the mass of the water times the specific heat of the water times, I have to make this a little bit bigger since this has been wrapped, times the temperature change of the water. So since we are ultimately going to be using this formula, and I don't need it in this place anymore, so I'm just going to delete it. One of the things that I put in the table is the specific heat of water. So water has an extraordinarily high specific heat, which is why it makes an ideal substance to use in calorimetry. And that value is 1.00 calories per gram per degree Celsius. And I am just going to put that on here, 1.00 calories per gram per degree Celsius. Now, one thing with spreadsheets is I did type in 1.00, you could see that, but when you hit enter, it just automatically switches it to 1. Now, I want to copy this one into all of the other spaces, so I just hovered over this and it just copied that right down. So one of the goals of this screencast is to show you how to use a spreadsheet to do calculations for you. So the first calculation that we're going to do is the change in water temperature, which is equivalent to the final temperature minus the initial temperature. Now if you look in this spreadsheet, the final and initial water temperatures are right here. The final temperature is in cell number E2. And the initial water temperature is in cell number D2. So since we want to take this minus this, what you do when you're going to put a command in that makes you do a calculation is you put an equal sign. That automatically puts it into a mode where it's going to perform a calculation. Now in this case, I want to take what is in E2 and I want to subtract what is in D2. So I've typed the equation that's going to be used for this calculation right in there like that, and then when you click enter, the number is put there for you. So again, if you click in the cell up here, you can see the equation is E2 minus D2. When you click on it, it highlights those numbers that are involved in this calculation. So very simple. Now you may wonder why you would bother to do that when you could just pull out your calculator and put a number in. Imagine you had 500 of these measurements and you wanted to save some time. Once you have that formula in there, you can hover over this little square, this little blue square, click on it, and drag down. Now, all of the calculations have been done for you. I think there might be something wrong with this set of data. I'm not really sure, but since it seems a little odd, I'm just going to get rid of it. I don't think it's an accurate set of data. So now I have 4 trials. Okay, so the first calculation that we did involved a subtraction function. All right, the next calculation we're going to do is going to involve multiplication. And multiplication, the multiplication symbol in spreadsheets is the asterisk sign, which is above the 8. So in this case, we need the calories released by the burning snack. So all of the calories, well, the horrible assumption that we're making that the heat, all of the heat is being transferred from the burning snack to the calorimeter. But again, the heat is being transferred to the water. So the calories released by the burning snack is going to be equal to the mass of the water times the specific heat of the water times the temperature change. So this is another example of where we can use a calculation and save ourselves some time. So we want to take the mass of the water times the specific heat of the water times the change in water temperature. So again, if I want to start a function, I write an equal sign or type an equal sign. In this case, the mass of the water is in cell number C2, and I'm going to multiply this times the specific heat of water, which is in cell G2, times the change in water temperature, which is a calculation that had been done for us before, which is in cell H2. All right, so here in this case, the calories released by the snack is 340. Again, with this, we can have this calculation repeated by hovering over the little blue square until you see the plus sign. Now, one thing, I am working on a MacBook Pro right now, so it might look a little different than what yours looks like. I think I remember it being a larger or a more bolded plus sign in that, but hovering over the plus sign and then dragging down for the rest of the calculations. So there we are. This is the number of calories for each of the snacks. Now, as I'm looking at this, I'm thinking that perhaps these two were bigger snacks comparatively, because you can see that the number of calories given off was more. So the next calculation that we're going to need to look at is how much of the snack actually burned. In this case, it's going to be the initial mass of the snack system minus the final mass of the snack system. So right now I'm just going to take a little pause and have you think about what the formula is going to be that I put into this cell in order to perform this calculation. So since it's the initial mass minus the final mass, the initial mass is in cell B2. So again, the equal sign, B2 minus the final mass, which is in cell F2. Now, you can see that I actually just clicked on F2 and it automatically put that in, which is very interesting. I've never seen that happen before, so that's kind of exciting. And Again, we can repeat each of these calculations by hovering and dragging down. One thing I do want to point out is that when you do that, the calculation automatically shifts to the cell. So this one is in row 2. So it is B2 minus F2, but if I click down, you can see that the calculation has changed now to B3 minus F3. And clicking on to the next one, B4 minus F4, and it just gets carried consistently like that, which is a really neat, slick application. All right. A couple more calculations that we need to make. We want to figure out how many calories per gram of snack burned actually existed. So these are all the same snack, and it's not very effective to say, okay, this time the cashew had 340 calories, but this time, if it was a cashew, this time it had 802. Now that's going to go back to its original size. So in order to compare apples to apples, we want to do a calculation in which we figure out how many calories per gram of the snack burned, which is going to be the calories released by the snack divided by how much of it got burned away. So another calculation starts with equals. I want to take the calories released, which is cell I2. I wonder if I can click on it. Well, I can. I can just click right on it. That's really kind of neat and saves even more time. Divided by, now this is the divided symbol that is next to the shift key, and on most keyboards it also has the question mark on it. So divided by the mass of the snack burned equals. So you can see that we're looking at about 1,500 calories per gram. Now let's see if this number is similar in the other trials. I would say they're not too far off from one another. This is such an activity where there really isn't a lot of control in the number of ways that heat can be lost and sources of error. Now when you think about this, 1,500 calories per gram of snack burned, that's an insane number of calories. But I want to remind you that these are not food calories that we're talking about. Food calories are actually, one food calorie is 1,000 calories. So if we want to compare this to food calories, if we take what's in this cell and divide it by 1,000, it'll give us food calories. So here we are, another calculation equals what's in cell K2 divided by 1,000. Now since we're going to be dividing each of these by 1,000, you can just type that number right in. So this makes more sense if you want to think about a small number of snack per gram. So a gram is, you're looking at 1.5 calories. That makes more sense to us compared to what we're used to. So again, you can just copy all of those functions for you, and it automatically gets carried to the right row. So here we're in K4. All of the numbers came from K4. Here the number came from K5. So a really slick way to do calculations in chemistry class or any application that you may need to do calculations using a spreadsheet. So I hope that you feel that you've learned something. You will need to know how to do simple calculations and how to set up formulas. So practicing with this as much as you can is going to be most helpful. That's all I have today. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.